A sharp tremor rippled to the floor of the International Space Coalition's Lunar Operations Command, the kind of vibration that traveled straight through boots into bones. Dr. Lara Singh barely looked up from her screen, fingers flying over the interface. She was decoding what Earth's top minds had spent months denying, a signal unlike anything previously intercepted, and it was speaking back. What's it saying? General Marin's voice boomed as he entered the command center, his presence as commanding as the uniform he wore. Ilara didn't answer immediately. She tapped the sequence, and a stream of alien glyphs shifted into audio, a deep, resonant voice that vibrated like a submerged cathedral bell. Preserve balance. Collapse imminent. Cleansing begins. Silence fell, heavy and impenetrable. That's a threat? Marin growled. Ilara nodded slowly. Or a prophecy. 3 days later, it no longer mattered. The Drexxar vessel emerged from the shadows of Jupiter, dwarfing even the planet's storms with its scale. No one saw it arrive. One moment, telescopes and orbital sensors registered empty space. The next, the sky was blotted out by a structure not built but grown, living metal, pulsing with a slow, alien rhythm. It hovered without propulsion, without sound. Its presence rewrote the laws of physics, or humanity's understanding of them. Earth's governments collapsed into emergency coalitions within hours. Borders became meaningless. So did politics. The ISC was thrust into command of a planet that suddenly realized it was not alone, and worse, not prepared. The first transmission from the Drexxar was not a greeting. It was a demand. Your species threatens equilibrium. You breed instability. You expand without purpose. Judgment is here. They looked nothing like the few depictions Ilara had conjured from fragments of their language. The live footage from an orbital drone showed a Drexxar descending from the ship's lower tendrils, 8 feet of sinewed muscle-sheathed in chitinous armor, with eyes like molten amber and a jaw full of needle teeth, a thing built for war by either evolution or design. Humanity's ambassadors, 5 of Earth's most eloquent minds, approached with open hands and translator drones. None returned. Kai Voss watched the footage from his bunk aboard Vigilance, Earth's first multi-nation combat frigate. He was a pilot, not a politician, and he didn't need subtitles to know the Drexxar had made their point. He'd grown up believing wars were fought over territory or ideology. This was different. This was an extermination wrapped in doctrine. General Marin took the helm of Earth's defenses within days, his experience in orbital warfare against rogue asteroids making him the obvious choice. Marin didn't believe in diplomacy with a species that opened conversations by tearing off heads. The Drexxar have no interest in coexisting, he said during the first global briefing. They're not conquerors. They're enforcers. Think of them as a galactic immune system, and we're the virus. Ilara listened from a corner of the room, arms folded, datapad glowing. Immune systems don't issue ultimatums. They don't speak in riddles. Her voice was quiet, but it sliced through the room. They do if they used to be something else, she added, more to herself and the others. The response plan came together under impossible pressure. Defense satellites were aligned. Military reserves activated. Orbital platforms were armed. Earth's scattered nations became a single front. But Ilara knew that science had to move faster than the guns. In a sealed lab buried beneath Antarctica's crust, she dissected Drexxar language patterns, hunting for repetition, weakness, logic. What she found instead was a pattern of decay, a kind of entropy coded into their transmissions. The Drexxar weren't just warning of balance. They were bleeding something, hiding behind aggression like a wounded predator. Still, Earth had no time to ask why. When the Drexxar struck Europa's research colony, vaporizing it in a silent beam of blue fire, the response was immediate. Earth's first retaliatory squadron, led by Captain Kai Voss, was scrambled. I thought I was signing up to fight pirates, he muttered to his weapons tech as the Vigilance prepared for launch. Not extinction. You still can drop out, she said without looking up. Kai smirked. And missed a chance to be humanity's last mistake? Never. His squadron never reached Europa. A Drexxar scout drone intercepted them halfway. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. The Drexxar ship, smaller than Earth's warships, tore through the squadron like it was made of paper and regret. Kai barely survived, his fighter crippled and spiraling toward Mars orbit before ISC recovery ships pulled him from the wreckage. The footage haunted him. Drexxar energy fields shredding human steel. Drexxar warriors moving like liquid muscle across vacuum, immune to radiation and bullets alike. Earth buried its dead. Politicians vanished into bunkers. And General Marin made a decision. No more warning shots. If they come for Earth, we scorch the sky. It was posturing, of course. The Drexxar were coming. Everyone knew it. But it gave people hope, and hope was now the currency of survival. Ilera, meanwhile, pieced together one last anomaly. A recurring symbol in the Drexxar signal. Always at the end of each transmission, like a signature. At first, she thought it meant death. But after cross-referencing alien syntax across known root matrices, a new interpretation emerged. Birth. She didn't sleep that night. When she finally spoke to General Marin, it was with shaking hands. We're not dealing with conquerors. They're desperate. Something is killing them, or has already killed them. This isn't about purging Earth. It's about survival. They see us as a replacement. Marin's jaw clenched. Then we're not a virus. We are competition. Outside the command dome, the stars shifted. Something massive moved between Earth and the moon, blotting out light as it descended through the dark. The Drexxar had arrived, and humanity's war had just begun. The silence in orbit was deceptive. From the cockpit of the Vigilance 2, Kai Voss watched Mars shrink behind them, its red face cratered with ash and ruin. Below, remnants of Earth's first counterstrike floated in vacuum. Twisted hulls, drifting bodies, and scorched debris spiraling like dead leaves. The Drexxar hadn't just repelled the assault. They had dissected it. Inside the command deck, the crew moved with urgency laced in dread. No one raised their voice. No one wasted motion. Every person on board knew what was coming next. Kai keyed into the secure channel. Any word from Earth? The answer came in the brittle voice of Commander Thorne. Jupiter relay went dark. They begun orbital maneuvers. It wasn't a war term. It was a eulogy. The Drexxar had started their advance toward Earth. Back on the surface, General Marin stood in the underground defense chamber, surrounded by an ocean of tactical projections. Satellites tracked the incoming alien fleet. Dozens of massive, writhing vessels moved as if tethered by an unseen pulse. The Earth defense fleet, cobbled together from every nation's technology and pride, was a fraction of their size and none of their elegance. What's their formation? Marin asked. A predator line, his strategist replied. Sweeping approach, low orbit insertion, planetary saturation within 6 hours. Global? Every continent. Simultaneously. Marin stared at the screen. So it's extinction, then? No, sir, came Ilera Singh's voice from behind. It's correction. They don't want to destroy us. They want to overwrite us. She laid down a data pad, displaying Drexxar communication fragments. There's something woven into their tactical patterns. A mathematical signature, not unlike DNA. Every move they make, every place they target, they're seeding. They're trying to alter the biosphere. Marin scowled. Terraforming? No, rewriting. The first impact struck over the Pacific. A Drexxar warform plunged through the atmosphere, landing off the coast like a falling god. It didn't need a fleet, just itself. As it emerged from the ocean, its biomechanical limbs folded out like blades. Energy pulsed from its core, corrupting the water with phosphorescent trails that spread like infection. Fish died. Birds fell from the sky. Shorelines wilted. Within an hour, 7 more Drexxar warforms landed. Africa, North America, Eastern Europe, Australia, Japan, South America, and Antarctica. Not to destroy. To begin, Kai's squadron was diverted to intercept a descending ship near the Himalayas. It was a suicide mission dressed in orders. Still, he flew. The Drexxar vessel didn't deploy fighters. It opened a hatch and released something worse. Drexxar warriors bred for atmospheric combat. Their skin shimmered with adaptive plating. Their movements defied gravity. The moment Kai saw them launch, he stopped thinking of them as soldiers. They were weapons wrapped in instinct. His wingmate, Reyes, was ripped from the sky before he could scream. A plasma spear lanced through her cockpit like a meteor. Kai veered, released a full payload, and scored a hit, barely. The explosion lit the mountainside. One Drexxar fell. The rest didn't even flinch. Kai survived again, but he didn't know why. Back on Earth, resistance began to bloom in the shadows. Cities buried beneath rock and ice were activated. Old Cold War bunkers became data cores. Refugees were transformed into informants, smugglers into supply runners. Ilera embedded herself in the largest underground nexus beneath New Helsinki, overseeing data streams from every active cell. She watched with growing horror as Drexxar growth zones expanded, regions with environment twisted unnaturally, plants mutating, air thickening, soil blackening. The transformation wasn't just physical. It was chemical, biological, purposeful. She sent samples to Earth's last operational genetic lab in Brazil. When results returned, her blood ran cold. They're using Earth's ecosystem as a canvas, she said during transmission with Marin, but not to replicate themselves, to become something else, something new. Meaning, Marin pressed. They're evolving in real time, merging with our biology. We're not just losing a war, we're becoming it. In the northern tundras, a ragged militia of soldiers and civilians mounted the first successful ground victory. Using scavenged Drexxar parts and a stolen energy cannon, they ambushed a lone scout and managed to kill it. The victory was brief but symbolic. It was the first time the enemy bled. News of the kill spread like wildfire. Hope flickered. Kai returned to Earth, his ship held together by threads and fury. He was different, quieter, leaner. In his eyes, Ilera saw something sharp, something she couldn't name. "You've seen them up close," she said. Kai nodded. "I think they learn faster than we do." "They're integrating with us," she whispered. He leaned closer. "Then let's make sure they learn pain." The Earth Defense Command greenlit Operation Eclipse, an all-or-nothing mission to board one of the Drexxar Hive ships in low orbit. The goal: extract a live specimen and retrieve any internal data on their evolutionary matrix. It was a desperate play, but desperation had become Earth's anthem. Marin led the tactical coordination. Ilera prepped the biocontainment. Kai volunteered to lead the assault team. He didn't wait for approval. The chosen Drexxar vessel was a smaller scout class, pulsing with soft green light and exuding electromagnetic static that killed unshielded drones. It hovered just above Earth's mesosphere, unreachable by conventional craft. The team would use a prototype stealth pod, unproven, unstable, and entirely Earth-made. Kai suited up in silence. He checked each seal, each clip, not because he didn't trust engineers, but because it might be the last thing he ever did. Ilera stood at the airlock. "You don't have to be the one to go." "I already am," he said. "They've seen me. Now I need to see them." The launch was like being fired from a gun into the mouth of something that didn't breathe. The Drexxar ship loomed ahead, its surface shifting like skin, the hull undulating with life. As they approached, the pod stealth field held, barely. The Drexxar did not fire. They entered through a ventral fissure, not a hatch, a wound. Inside, the ship was a cathedral of madness. Corridors pulsed with alien sinew. Lights glowed from organic sacs. Walls responded to movement with shivers. The air was thick with pheromones that bypassed speech and fed emotion directly into thought. Half the team vomited. One soldier collapsed, clutching his head, whispering names he didn't know. Kai pushed forward, weapon raised. They reached the core, a pulsing, luminous chamber where a Drexxar slumbered in translucent fluid. Its body was different, younger, unfinished, less monstrous, more human. Ilera's voice crackled over the comms. "Do not kill it. We need it alive." The moment they breached the fluid chamber, the creature's eyes opened. Amber light, recognition, then motion. 2 soldiers died before they could scream. The third stunned it with an electromagnetic burst. Kai lunged, tagged the containment collar, and initiated the recall sequence. As the pod detached from the alien ship, alarms roared through space like ancient drums. The Drexxar fleet stirred. The war was no longer a war. It was evolution, on both sides. The transport chamber hissed as it depressurized, sealing the alien specimen within a field of ionized stasis. The walls of the mobile lab glowed faintly blue, giving the entire room a spectral hue. Illyra stood motionless before the containment tank, watching the young Drexxar float in semi-conscious suspension. Its eyes were still open, golden, unblinking, studying her through layers of glass and energy as if it already knew her. Kai stood behind her, stripped of his armor, blood dried into the creases of his face. The mission had cost him 3 lives. No one spoke of it. Grief was an indulgence neither of them could afford. "He's adapting," Illyra murmured. "His vitals are stabilizing, respiratory rate matching human norms." Kai leaned forward, arms crossed. "Are you saying it's mimicking us?" "I'm saying it's becoming us." The specimen, designated Delta, showed signs of accelerated cellular assimilation. Drexxar tissue, once volatile and alien, was shifting under observation. Human proteins were integrating into its structure. DNA strands were being rewritten in real time, as if Earth's biology was nothing more than a tool to perfect something older, something more refined. "We've sequenced parts of its genome," Illyra continued. "They're fragments, small pieces, that resemble human genetic patterns. Not by coincidence. They're using us like templates, reverse engineering us." Kai's jaw clenched. What if they're not just trying to conquer Earth? What if Earth was always part of their design? Illyra turned to face him. "Then we're not fighting invaders. We're fighting ancestors." The implications haunted them. Every act of resistance suddenly felt smaller. The war wasn't about borders or planets. It was about legacy, about species wrestling for the right to define the future. In the orbiting command ship Solace, General Marin paced across the glass observation deck, his mind a hurricane of calculated despair. Below, Earth shimmered like a marble on the edge of fire. The Drexxar were no longer attacking in waves. They were coalescing, fusing their war forms into vast bioconstructs the size of cities. Each was a crucible of transformation, a living forge converting Earth's matter into their own. "We hit them in Kazakhstan," said the voice of Lieutenant Hall, patched in from the surface. "Didn't even slow them down. Our weapons only delay the mutation. We destroy one structure. 3 more emerge around it. Collateral, minimal, civilians evacuated in time. But the ground's lost. It's not Earth anymore. It's something other." Marin turned toward the command interface. "Patch me through to Illyra." She answered in a heartbeat. "We have a theory." "Let me guess, worse than the last one?" "This isn't conjecture. Delta's internal memory stores are partially decodable. The Drexxar weren't meant to invade. They were meant to return. Something on Earth called to them." Marin's brow tightened. "A signal?" "No, a genome." The theory emerged like a knife from fog. Millennia ago, a Drexxar precursor had seeded early Earth with life, genetically disassembled fragments of their kind woven into primitive DNA. They had waited, dormant in the black between stars, for the signal that would tell them their creation was ready to be harvested. Now that call had come. Kai couldn't sleep. His dreams weren't his anymore. Since his first encounter with the Drexxar scouts, he'd felt a slow shifting in his thoughts. Memories replayed out of order, emotions that didn't belong to him surfacing unbidden. And since returning from the hive ship, the connection had grown stronger. He didn't tell Illyra, not yet. But every time he looked at Delta, he felt recognition blooming like an old wound. That night, Delta stirred in the containment field for first time. Alarms triggered. Systems surged to full alert. Scientists scrambled to maintain field integrity as the young Drexxar opened its mouth and spoke. In English. "Stop." The voice was wrong. Too smooth. Too knowing. It was not the voice of a creature just learning to mimic. It was a voice borrowing from the depths of Kai's own memories. The same cadence as his dead sister. The same calm tone that had once soothed him as a boy during orbital drills. "Shut it down," he barked. "Wait!" Illyra snapped. "This is communication. We need this." Delta's voice continued. "You are not losing. You are becoming. You are pieces returned." Kai stepped forward. "Why are you here?" Delta blinked slowly. "We are the first. You are the last. Between us lies only convergence." "Convergence into what?" The Drexxar's pupils flared. Harmony. Ilera stared at the monitor. He's not speaking like a soldier. He's speaking like a priest. In the days that followed, Earth's resistance fractured into opposing schools of thought. Some believed that surrender meant survival, that merging with the Drexxar offered salvation. Others, including Marin's faction, refused to yield, calling such ideas suicide in disguise. Civil unrest sparked in the megacities. In Paris, a biochemist detonated a Drexxar growth center using a self-engineered virus. In New Shanghai, protesters clashed with Earth defense soldiers demanding dialogue instead of war. The world teetered, not between victory and defeat, but between identity and oblivion. Kai and Ilera retreated to the Arctic Bastion, Earth's last uncontaminated biome, to run new simulations. There, beneath the ice, with servers humming and wind howling outside, they began to form a plan not to win, but to sever. If we can isolate the original seeding code, Ilera proposed, we might be able to create a feedback virus, one that rejects Drexxar integration at a cellular level, make Earth incompatible with their biology. And what happens to us? Kai asked. Her pause said everything. The virus wouldn't discriminate. It would purge hybrid sequences, including those now present in the millions who had already been exposed. I'd rather die human, he said. Ilera looked away. We might not be human anymore. As the sun rose over the frozen north, a Drexxar fleet descended toward the bastion. They had found them. Kai activated the final sequence. The lab began uploading the virus prototype to the global satellite grid. Once launched, there would be no return. It was Earth's last scream. The sky above the Arctic split with thunder and light. Drexxar war forms descended in silent fury, wings outstretched, claws ready to erase what remained of resistance. Ilera stayed by the console, hands trembling. The sequence needs 30 more seconds. Kai stepped into the airlock. By me, 20. As the door sealed behind him, he looked back once, at the woman who had given Earth its last hope, and at the future that would never remember their names. Then he ran into the storm. The Arctic sky shimmered with auroras warped by the energy signatures of descending Drexxar warforms. Their wings unfolded with mechanical grace, shedding frozen air and vaporous gusts as they encircled the bastion like vultures orbiting a dying flame. Below, in the glacial trench of the lab, Ilera's fingers flew over the terminal. The virus upload sequence crawled forward in incremental pulses, each percent a battle won through defiance. The lab trembled. An impact, then another. Walls groaned. Ice fractured. Red lights flashed in rhythmic warning. Kai! Status, Ilera whispered into the comm, though no answer came. Above her, beyond layers of reinforced shielding and frozen stone, Kaivos moved like a shadow among gods. Snow blasted into his visor, wind slicing across his armor. The Drexxar warforms glided above, searching, not with eyes, but through some instinctive tether that sensed intention more than shape. He held his breath, every muscle tight, calculating every step. His goal wasn't to fight them. It was to distract them, to keep them guessing, hunting, reacting. He darted from ridge to ice spire, fired signal flares into horizon, planted heat-emitting decoys along the ridgelines. The warform split. Two descended. One paused, scanning. Its gaze, if it could be called that, passed within inches of Kai's body. He could hear the wet hum of its breath, feel the radiation ripple off its shell. Still, he didn't move. At the bastion, Ilera hit the final authorization key. The countdown began. 60 seconds until transmission. Around her, the lab cracked with pressure. One corridor sealed behind a fire breach. Cold seeped in. Glass split like frozen rivers. The specimen chamber, Delta, remained sealed, silent. He had said nothing since that first communication. Only watched. Ilera stood before his tank. Her reflection stared back at her through the glowing containment field. "Why us?" she asked. "Why not just erase us completely?" Delta blinked slowly. "Because we see what you could be, what you were meant to be." She shook her head. "You talk of convergence, but all you bring is destruction." "No," he replied. "We bring direction. Without us, your species dies in chaos. With us, You evolve into purpose. She moved closer, voice low. We don't need you to define us. Delta's skin shimmered, refracted light in strange, impossible ways. You've never defined yourselves. You kill, you divide, you forget your beginnings. We are your memory. We are your inheritance. Then the floor above cracked. One Drexxar warform broke through the ice and steel, plunging into the lab in a vortex of frost and flame. It landed in a crouch, biomechanical limbs spreading like spider legs. Its head swiveled toward her. The stasis tank hissed. Delta's eyes brightened. Ilera grabbed a sidearm from her belt and fired. The shot sparked harmlessly against its armor. It stepped toward her. But then, stillness. The creature stopped, looked past her, at Delta. For a moment, something passed between them. Recognition. Submission. Delta stood inside the containment tank, motionless. Then, he placed a single hand on the glass. The warform bowed. Ilera's heart froze. Delta turned to her again. Even now, you resist what is inevitable. Above ground, Kai sprinted across the ice shelf toward the signal antenna array. He could see it now, jagged and black against the sky. If the Drexxar took it out before the virus fully transmitted, everything would be lost. A roar cut through the wind. One of the warforms spotted him. It dove, limbs extended, plasma burning in its throat. Kai dove for the base of the array and fired his sidearm blindly into the snow. The first blast missed. The second struck one of the decoys. A plume of heat exploded, drawing the Drexxar away for only a heartbeat. But a heartbeat was all he needed. He uploaded the override key. 10 seconds. The Drexxar screamed. It knew. Kai dropped his weapon and opened his arms wide. Come on, he said, voice raw. Come get me. The creature struck, and everything turned white. In the lab, the timer struck 0. The virus pulsed into the transmission node, fed into the satellite relay system, and leapt skyward in invisible threads of data. The world shifted. Wherever Drexxar growth zones had taken root, change erupted. Towers of fused bone and metal writhed, then froze. Colors dimmed. Structures collapsed inward as if recoiling from the very air. The biomechanical construct began to decompose, not violently, but with a quiet, inevitable breakdown, like glaciers melting in reverse. Drexxar warforms collapsed mid-flight, screaming in frequencies that shattered glass insanity. Those that remained fled, their sleek bodies trailing trails of steam as their cores dimmed. Delta screamed too. The stasis tank cracked under pressure as the skin boiled, blackened, split into streams of unstable data and memory. He pounded against the glass, eyes wild, not with rage, but with confusion. No, he gasped. We are the future. Ilera stared at him, her heart breaking in steel at once. No, she said. We are. The tank imploded. Delta collapsed into a pool of broken tissue and light. And then silence. In the hours that followed, Earth breathed again. Skies cleared. Signals stabilized. The Drexxar fleet, what remained of it, vanished beyond lunar orbit, wounded and silent. Whether they were retreating, recalibrating, or simply mourning, no one knew. But they were gone. Ilera walked alone across the fractured remains of the bastion. Her ears still rang. The sky was a bruise, the wind softer. In her hand was Kai's helmet, scarred, blood-streaked. Empty. They found his body beneath the antenna array, arm outstretched, fingers touching the override key. He had held the line. His memory became a myth in the days that followed. Not just a soldier, but a bridge, a symbol that humanity could choose its own evolution. Not one imposed from above, but one forged in choice and sacrifice. The virus was not a cure. It was a wall, a line drawn between what Earth had become and what it refused to be. Resistance was no longer a movement. It was a rebirth. And far across the void, in a cold part of space untouched by stars, a Drexxar vessel floated in silence. Within, a new being stirred, neither human nor Drexxar, but something between, watching, waiting, listening for the next signal.